We are live. This is the first episode of Fight Night Picks, just strictly Fight Night Picks on Dialogue. So I'd like to thank my guest, Owen Young, coming on from MMA Sucka. Owen, can you hear me?
I can indeed, my man. How's things?
Awesome. Things are going great. We hosted the second episode of Fight Night Picks for the fans yesterday, and it went quite well, and I'm really glad that you could join me.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, we had connected on social media talking about Brave CF and, looking through your tweets and different things. You've really been covering the promotion well. They started up in 2016. Can you talk a bit about, how Brave got started and, where they've come up until now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, less than 2 years in existence, and they've basically been on a constant world tour, bar maybe a few weeks during the summer. I mean, it's huge. It's huge in the Middle East. It is the fastest growing MMA promotion in the Middle East, based out of Bahrain, the Kingdom of Bahrain. Founded by His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa, who is a big believer in getting the MMA recognized as an Olympic sport, which I think will probably happen sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Yeah, and I mean,
Um,
all the research I've done on His Highness, he's really big into pushing different types of sports. So it's great to see him getting behind MMA and really trying to expand the platform.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and the promotion itself is really all about the fighters. You know, they are, as the president Mohammed Shahid was saying in an interview there last year. I remember saying that the fighters are more like the boss than the boss. It's fully focused on the best conditions for the guys in the promotion and bringing it globally. Like just recently they've been to Europe for the first time in Brave 13 for Brave Belfast, which was a pretty good event. I attended and covered the whole event for Suga.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at Brave CF13, like you said, their first foray into Europe. I mean, main event, between a couple bantamweights, Franz Malambo, who trains out of SBG, and he had quite a good amateur career before turning pro, and Stephen Lohman, who's been on my radar for quite a bit. And they also had, Storm and Norman Park and Miles Price fight it out to a decision. And I know Norman Park for sure signed with Bellator. He's one of the 24 names that they had recently signed, but I believe Miles Price also signed with them as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Norman Park, UFC vet, signed up with Bellator recently. He's got quite a good relationship with Brave as well, as do most fighters. I've spoke to many fighters at the event, and nothing but good things to say about the promotion. You're not going to find anybody running looking for a fighters union in that promotion. It's fighters first. Everyone
And
well looked after.
yeah, and from what I've seen, they put on a good show as far as the visuals and the fights are concerned. And with Brave 14 coming up from Tangier in Morocco, I mean, it's a great card looking top to bottom.
It is, and again, that's another new venture, first time in North Africa. Any MMA promotion there, going there, it's yeah, it's a great card. You got Jeremy Kennedy as a co-main there. Recently came out of UFC. It's You got Sydney Wheeler's on that card. It's a stacked looking card, all right.
Yeah, I
Goes
mean,
down all.
oh, sorry. I'm
Yeah,
excited to see Jeremy Kennedy. I mean, he's got such a great record, and he's still, only 25 years old. So it's good to see him, getting a spot in Brave as well. That main event is quite good. I mean, you look at the records. Ottoman Zeitz are at 10-0, but for Kokora, 16-3. But I believe he was on. Let's see here. He was on quite a losing streak at one point. Lost five in a row, six in a row. So he's kind of found footing as well, and getting back in the win column.
yeah. It's a big event, a big deal. Heading into Africa for the promotion, absolutely huge. And also just this past week you had the Global Expansion 2018 press conference in Bahrain, where
Yeah,
they've listed off Colombia, South Africa, India, Abu Dhabi, I think Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, India, all getting events before the end of the year, which is huge. That's some push.
So, I mean, with that global expansion, I was actually really surprised to see Colombia. And I think that's such a developing country, especially with Medellin. You see a lot of, it's the city's really grown a lot in the last 20 years or so. So it's good to see a promotion, expanding into Colombia, Pakistan as well. I know here, if there's anybody listening, here in New Brunswick in Canada, we actually have a promotion, Fighting Alliance, which started in Pakistan. They're bringing their MMA brand over to New Brunswick with a show on the 25th of August from St. John. So good to see another promotion in Pakistan. And as well in South Africa, it'll be interesting to see how they fare. I'm sure they'll do very well. But yesterday you had EFC 72 from South Africa, and they're well rooted in the community there. But no, it's great to see Brave growing. What do you expect for Brave in the next, I want to say in the next 6 months? Where do you think we'll see them progress?
Well, like you say, I was a bit surprised with the Colombia one myself. I was kind of being a bit selfish and hoping maybe they would come back to Europe, specifically Dublin would be great. But yeah, I just see it getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's definitely on the up and up. And they recently signed as well with Greenhill Sportswear, for launching merchandise and that, which obviously wasn't really happening too much before that. There was very little, so that they're going big with that too.
And I know a couple of the signings that they made here recently with Geraldo Luan or Luan Santana and Gabriel Miranda. They're really excited about Miranda. I've seen them pushing him on social media, on YouTube, and it's great to have submission specialists. Brazil always turns out some of the best MMA fighters, so good to see there. And as well, like you mentioned with the apparel deal, another good thing. I mean, Brave really extending its reach, but they're doing well in the communities they're going to. I know Morocco is really excited for Brave 14 coming up here soon. And you had mentioned, you'd like to see more cards in Ireland, and it'd be great to see more cards in Europe as well. What's the feel in Europe as far as MMA expansion is concerned? I know there's a lot of promotions that have expressed interest, having more European cards. We've seen ACB kind of faltering here of late. I know they've renamed a couple of their events. ACB 89 and ACB 90 have been rescheduled and renamed with new talent. But what's it like, boots on the ground over in Europe?
It's massive. It's huge. It's obviously it's a new enough sport, and it's not mainstream by any means. But I mean, recently we had KSW come over from Poland to Dublin, and it was an absolute sellout. It was fantastic. There are just some of the smaller ones, the Cage Legacy, they always sell out the arenas. Maybe not huge arenas, but there isn't a shortage of fans willing to part with their books to go and see it.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are very fortunate to have Cage Warriors. They have they put on a lot of great events, and I'm really excited to see Paddy Pimblett coming up here soon again. I mean, he's one of those fighters I could see transitioning into a bigger promotion, finding a lot of success as well. And like we'd said, I mean, with Bellator signing so much top talent in Ireland out of SBG, I mean, I'm looking Richie Smullen from the last season of The Ultimate Fighter, Ion Pascu just recently fought for the promotion, Kiefer Crosby, and Antonella Orlick, who's somebody I'm really excited to see with no professional MMA fights, but she's got a really great background. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, specifically in Ireland with SBG. I mean, can you talk about what that gym's, done to the MMA scene?
Yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely massive. It's so recognizable now, the SBG gym. I mean, within a couple of kilometers of me right here, I know of two big gyms. One with SBG Tala D24. That is Paddy Houlihan's gym. You have one literally a couple of yards away from that. It's like it's so recognizable. They're popping up everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it seems as if Irish MMA has just exploded. I mean, we've got Bellator 204 coming up this coming week, and James Gallagher is on that card. Um, and I talked about him for a time, and I said, he's a budding superstar. And I started to use that language, but I think he's more than a budding superstar. I think he is a superstar. I think he's something really special for Bellator. I had a chance to go back and forth with him on Twitter and did a little bit of a write up. And I mean, with a win coming up this week, he's guaranteed a title shot. So, yeah, lots of special things happening in Ireland as far as MMA is concerned. And then as well, like we had said, a lot of promotions, making the rounds in Europe. A few of them haven't been able to stick, whether it's ACB or others. And like we started off the show, Braves really, found a home. Yeah, as far as Braves concerned, and I said, like, where do you see them in the next 6 months? They've gone through this worldwide expansion. Are there any other platforms or any other events that we should be tuning into here coming up soon?
In regards Brave, I know that the plan is for early 2019 is to get back to Europe. It's obviously the list we mentioned there from Colombia to India. They're going to be quite busy. But yeah, no, I have a feeling like there was talk of, I believe, mainland Spain, in the year that I think that was on the table, and definitely Dublin is something that they're looking at.
Yeah, and that's a good transition into the next topic that I wanted to talk about. So, Brave, whether they go to Spain, whether we see more Irish cards, even cards just all over the UK, where other platforms have stepped up, the biggest platform or the biggest MMA promotion we've seen kind of falter with worldwide expansion. And I know the UFC signed a deal here recently with M1 Global to develop Russia as a possible hub for MMA. But what's the UFC doing in Europe?
Yeah, to be honest, it. I mean, the bar the Till and Wonder Boy, there hasn't been much talk of many European cards. I don't know if they do well when they come here, okay.
Yeah.
But like that, people, and it's very, very popular. I mean, trying to get tickets for a UFC event in Ireland or in the UK is almost impossible once it happens. It's like gold.
Yeah,
It's
I
because
mean,
it's that rare that they get here.
exactly. And I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot of them. I know it seemed for a time that they wanted to capitalize in the Polish market, but I mean, you've got KSW with such a stranglehold there, and they've got so many fans across Europe. I mean, we've got KSW 45 coming up in October, and I was fortunate enough to have the heavyweight champ Phil DeFries on the podcast here recently to talk about it, and that's going to be a special event for the fans. But yeah, as far as the UFC is concerned, I was really surprised. I mean, I'm from a small community in New Brunswick, Canada. I mean, it's a city of probably, I want to say 75,000. So it's a small city. And not too far away, there's another city of probably 200 plus thousand people. And they're going to get an MMA event. I mean, from the UFC. So it's pretty surprising what the UFC's plans are.
Yeah, it is too. It is. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, no, I mean, UFC it's kind of surprising, but like we said, and like in the title, Brave CF's expansion, it's really exciting to see a breath of fresh air in the MMA scene. It's good to see that Bellator is taking the initiative to develop talent in the UK, in Ireland, as well. I've heard mention they could have a sort of tough type experience where they actually do develop, almost homegrown talent across Europe. So that's great. Owen, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on. Where can fans find you online and find some of your work?
You can find me contributing for MMAsucker.com, at MMA Sucker on Twitter, and at OnlyBalls on Twitter also.
Awesome, Owen. Thanks so much for coming on.
Greg, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.